Well, it's time to talk all things sprint cars with friend of the show, Bruce Phillips. G'day, Bruce.
G'day there. How you going, mate?
Fantastic.
Good to be on with you.
Fantastic to have you. Thanks for giving us some time, and you've got some results that have just happened from all around the country.
Yeah, there's been a bit happening in the last few weeks. Of course, we're all on the slowdown of the Classic and, of course, the Australian title down there at Warrnambool. But, there's been some big meetings in the last 7 days. And let's, without too much further ado, go to the Perth Motorplex, where Perth had the Australian Mr. Sprint Car Nationals. And it was night 1 and night 2. And on Friday night last week, there was the preliminary A main, where Jamie Veal, in the W17 contracted car out of Perth, he got the chocolates from Callum Williamson and Matt Eagle. Now, Matt Eagle is a South Australian driver, and he's got a contract with the Warrnambool racing team over there in Western Australia, and it's only a short contract, but, gee, the Warrnamools, they'll be pretty happy at the moment because he got on the podium again last night. We'll have a look at that one shortly. Then in the last week, also the Latrobe meeting, there was a lot happening down there with a big A main at the Latrobe Speedway, Latrobe, Tasmania. And it was Ethan Wiley in the T15 who got the chocolates from Adam Garwood in the T6 and Chad Gardner in the T45, who made the trip across the water and raced down there at Warrnambool in the Grand Annual Sprint Car Classic. So then last week was also some racing all around Australia. It's a pretty scattered weekend it was.
Yeah. At
Heartland Raceway Moama, which is just over the bridge there at Echuca. And you run into a beautiful little place called Moama. And a great little speedway out there too. It's quite a large speedway. I think it's about near 400 metres on the pole, and it's a really big venue. And they've done some improvements out there. And it really is a great little track.
Yeah, Bruce, I've just come from that region in the last couple of years, and it's on the outskirts of Miami. But you're right, it's a big venue.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's they've done some improvements there with undercover for the patrons, and it really has come up a treat. And it's a very big track. It's the Murray Bridge track here is only about 360 on the pole, so another 40 metres doesn't sound a lot, but it is in retrospect. And these guys really use that to an advantage. They get up to about 140, 160 kilometres an hour, these 410 sprint cars, and they would have really enjoyed it last week. Now, I was only saying to my lad, Lockie, the other day that sort of haven't really heard a lot about Rusty Hickman this year. Well, he put me back in my box because Rusty Hickman came out last week in the V40, and he absolutely smashed it out there at Heartland in the SRA Sprint Car Series Round 10, and he got the chocolates from Parker Scott. He's a much improved, young, emerging, talented young guy, and he really is going to be one to watch in the coming years. Andrew Hughes got in third place in the V28, and our South Australian that went over there, well, unfortunately, he didn't do as good as we were hoping in, I think Daniel Pesca went over there. I just can't see his name on there, so he may not have even raced. Good, the joys of live radio. But so that was at Heartland. So then we move on to back to the Perth Motorplex. They had night 2 there last week on Saturday night.
Yep.
And that was the Mr. Sprint Car Nationals night 2. And it was pretty simple to pick the A-main winner here. And it was Jock Goodyear. Hasn't Jock Goodyear had a fantastic season? He's just been winning everything. And he had good victories around the speed week, picked up over 30,000 there. And then, of course, he couldn't quite get the chocolates in the Australian title, but he really has been dominating with the Classic, and he's dominated again over there in the Mr. Sprint Car Nationals, the main event on the Saturday night 2.
Some might say, Bruce, not you and I, we wouldn't say it, but some might say he's had a good year.
Yes, it's a good line I use on the Facebook page, local sprint car photography and media, but yes, he has had a good year, that's for sure. And now he's, of course, racing with the T22 because he lost the A1 in the Australian title a couple of weeks ago. And he got the job done from Lockie McHugh, who, of course, got the A1 a couple of weeks ago. So they reverse roles. And Dane Kingshot in the W2. Now, I feel sorry for Dane. He really should have probably come over and had a bit of a crack in the W2 car instead of Kerry Madsen, but that wasn't to be. And the cricket team there kept it as Kerry Madsen driving that car. But look, Dane Kingshot, I think he'll be over here next year for the Classic and, of course, the title at Murray Bridge. That's some big news coming out in the last 7 to 14 days, that Murray Bridge Speedway will host the Australian title in next year in, I think it's about the 31st of January and the 1st of February. So one to mark in the calendar for a big night or double-header racing of the Australian title after the Classic.
There's some stuff coming up at Murray Bridge in early March, isn't there? Yeah,
there's some racing coming up in March at Murray Bridge, so we'll certainly prelude that and preview that in the next few weeks. But the last one we got to in last week's racing, which was last night, and that was the midweek Sprintcar Mayhem. Now, all the guys, of course, over there for the Mr. Sprintcar Nationals, they've got the Mayhem they had last night, and then Friday and Saturday night, they've got the big Cricky Boys shootout. So 5 massive nights of racing, and getting around about 30 to 35 nominations, and some of the east sides are going over there, the eastern states, in the likes of Lockie McHugh, and, of course, Jock Goodyear and Matt Eagle over there in the Warmall car. So there's quite a few have gone over there. Glenn Sutherland from out of Mount Gambier. So pretty good field. Jamie Veal driving, of course, the Western Australian number 17 car. So there's been quite a few go over, and not forgetting Marcus Dumpsey, former Australian champion in the N47. So a lot of teams are going over there, big numbers. And last night it was, you guessed it, Jock Goodyear again in the T22. And he got the job done from Matt Eagle, who I spoke about just a bit earlier, in the W97. So pretty good signing by the Warmall Motorsport team, getting a couple of podiums there by Matt Eagle. So they won't mind paying him his wages with a couple of good podium finishes. Andrew Piolo in the W8. And I watched this one online, and it was a great race. And Goodyear just had too much in the end and got the job done. Kingshot again amongst the top 5, having a great season over there in Perth. And like I said, I'd really love to see him come over here next year in that W2 car, and Daniel Harding in 5th spot. So a bit of a wrap-up of last week, a lot of racing around the country, and it's pretty exciting times over there in Perth.
Good to see Matt Eagle getting those results, paying the the team back in spades already. He's having a terrific purple patch at the moment. Bruce, thank you so much. Always comprehensive, bringing us up to speed with everything going on in the sprint cars. And we'll chat again next week.
Yeah, we've got some nominations just for the weekend. So what's happening around the weekend? We've got Perth Motorplex again, the Cricky Boys shootout this weekend, 34 nominations. So pretty much all the guys we've been talking about, Goodyear and Lockie McHugh, and, so pretty much all the guys we've been talking about there, Callum Williamson and some really good Western Australian drivers. So there's 2 nights of racing for there, Friday and Saturday night. There's also racing at the Gilgandra District Speedway, so that should be a big event. 15 cars there, the likes of Alex Addard racing there and Ben Marchette. So a pretty good field there for Gilgandra. So not a big speedway, so that's not bad nominations there. Gladstone Speedway is also happening this weekend, 32 nominations there. So we'll have these results coming in next week's preview, and some big names amongst them there. So that should be another good night's racing there at Gladstone, who don't have a lot of speedway. Richard Morgan, I see racing there, come down for the Classic. And you've also got the likes of Darren Jensen, pretty popular up there in Queensland. So that should be a pretty good meeting there. And the other sprint car meeting happening this weekend is, of course, the Mainline Dynalog Dynamometers All-Star Series Round 5, and 18 cars nominated for this one. So these guys have only got the 360 cubic inch motor. So the pistons bored out to 360 cubic inch. And so a little bit slower than the 410s, but they are still rip-roaring around that track, and they've got a pretty good nomination list there with the last week's winner, Rusty Hickman, Chris Solomon, and also amongst the drivers is the dairy farmer in Phil Lock. And Phil Lock had just put the cows down the paddock and then drive the truck out the gate and go and do a bit of sprint car racing just to ease the burdens of farming. But should be a good week over there at Heartland Raceway. So they get going again there at Heartland, just over the river at Moama. For the mainline Dynalog Dynamometers All-Star Series Round 5. So, again, another big week of racing across the country in 410 and 360 sprint cars.
Lots of exciting stuff to look forward to till we speak again, Bruce. Take care on the roads.
Thanks, Damo. See you soon.